Hello, I'm Claire Smith, welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about 10 loved and lost fragrances. So I've already done this video back in February and people seem to really enjoy this kind of content, so I thought I'd make another one. So these are 10 more discontinued, hard to find fragrances, or ones that have just been discontinued and I'm wondering whether to get. So if you haven't seen me before, I'm Claire Smith and I make videos all about perfume, perfume science, perfume history, perfume psychology even, and I also just do some straight perfume reviews. So if this kind of content interests you and you haven't already subscribed, then please do consider subscribing, and also please like this video. So let's get on with this. So I've got 10 discontinued fragrances and I just want your opinions on these. Are these worth getting? So the first fragrance I'm going to talk about is one by Kenzo, and it's actually called Kenzo Flower Elixir. So you may all remember the original Pillar fragrance of Kenzo Flower. That came out in the early 2000s. I remember my friend having that one, and I remember really not being that fussed by that fragrance. I remember it being quite powdery, and I didn't really understand, what exactly it smelt of, because I wasn't into fragrance like I am now, but I now know that was violet and probably incense, and that's probably was a bit of a shock to me because I probably hadn't smelt those notes before smelling that fragrance. So Kenzo Flower Elixir is actually a fragrance that I haven't smelt, and it's one that's described as smelling like a sweet but tart raspberry and having a very powdery vanilla base and having a hint towards the original fragrance, the powderiness, but really not being that similar to Kenzo Flower overall. So I've seen people describe this fragrance as well as smelling like a raspberry jam donut. So I guess that's a sort of syrupy raspberry maybe, with a vanilla kind of style gourmand background. I think there's praline in this fragrance, apparently, according to the notes. I just imagine it being a very sweet, very gourmand fragrance, very crowd pleasing, very something that I'm likely to like. And I'm just wondering whether it's worth me seeking this one out. I do see it on secondhand selling sites occasionally. I've never seen it not go for a lot of money, but is it worth it? So this one as well, I actually did see in a closing down sale for a department store, and I remember looking at it and then realising they priced a 50ml bottle at something like £80, and I thought that was really steep for a Kenzo fragrance, so I left that one well alone, but they didn't have any testers, so I've never actually managed to try that fragrance. So yeah, please let me know what you think of Kenzo Flower Elixir and whether I should be looking into picking it up. So the second fragrance is one from Gucci, and I think it was actually Kathleen Lights that popularised this fragrance. I've watched some of her earlier perfume collection videos, and I seem to remember her saying this was one of her favourite fragrances, and I think that's probably what caused this one to be quite such a hit. So this came out in 2004 and it's actually called Gucci 2. So Gucci 2 is a fragrance that I really don't know much about. I remember when I was first starting my YouTube channel, people were buying this up because it had just been discontinued, I think, or it was getting harder to find maybe. And now it's really hard to find. I've seen it on second-hand seller sites going for over £300. I definitely won't be paying that for it, but if I did see it at a bargain price, is this worth me picking up? So this fragrance seems to be based around blackberry and other berry fruits, but I've also seen this fragrance described as smelling like a violet leaf tea. So I guess it's a little bit green, it's definitely a little bit floral, and it's probably a little bit woody as well. So I've seen loads of YouTubers variously blind buy this one and either be really excited by it or really disappointed by it. So I have no clue whether this is something that would appeal to me or whether it would just be underwhelming. So please let me know what you think of this one. So that's Gucci 2 by Gucci. So the third fragrance is actually one from the Valentino Donna line, and it's actually the Donna Acqua flanker. So I think this was discontinued a few years ago. People seem to really love this fragrance, and the thing that interests me about this fragrance is that people with really quite large collections of niche fragrances even love this fragrance, which to me suggests that it's got something different about it. But on the other hand, I've also seen people compare this fragrance to Burberry Brit EDT, which to me is quite a everyday fragrance. It's something that is quite different, but it's not something out of the ordinary to me. So Burberry Brit EDT is a vanilla sponge cake, a vanilla almond sponge cake to me with a lime flavoured frosting. It's quite a soft fragrance in many ways, and I'm just wondering, is Donna Acqua quite a soft fragrance? So Donna Acqua seems to be based around pear, but also around almonds, so maybe that's where the similarity is coming. But also it's supposed to have some tropical florals and a creamy sandalwood base. So yeah, what is it about Donna Acqua that makes it so special? And is it worth me trying to find it? So that's Donna Acqua by Valentino. So the next fragrance is one from Ralph Lauren, and I've only owned a few from Ralph Lauren, but this is Woman Intense. So Woman I've tried in store. I know how that smells. I know it's mainly a white floral fragrance, mainly tuberose. It's got a bit of a fruity background, it's got some woodiness, and yeah, it's just a very classic, very timeless kind of smell, really. I think it's something that I was really surprised to like as much as I like. I think it's a lovely fragrance. But the one that I'm really curious about is the Intense. So the Intense comes in a black bottle and the original comes in a clear bottle. And I remember about a year ago on YouTube, there seemed to be a lot of people buying up the Intense. And I guess that's when it was discontinued. I've been trying to work out what the difference is between the original and the Intense. And from what I can see from the notes, I think that maybe the vanilla is the difference with the Intense. So there's definitely a vanilla note in the Intense that isn't apparently there in the original. And there also seems to be a bit of an amped up blackcurrant note in the Intense compared with the original. It's in both, but I think it's stronger, or meant to be stronger, in the Intense. And the tuberose is meant to be a little bit lighter in the Intense compared to the original. But I've never smelt the Intense, so I really don't know which one is the better fragrance, if there is such a thing. I mean, I guess it's personal opinion, isn't it? But I'd just like to know what the consensus opinion is on those two, because really, if I saw the original at a reasonable price, I'd be very happy to pick that one up, because I really think it's a lovely fragrance. But I don't need both, and I just want to know which one is the better one to come by. So that's Ralph Lauren Woman Intense. So the next fragrance is one from Cacharel, and this one is called Catch Me. And this is a sample that I got from Gabby, the fragrantician here on YouTube. And she sent me a few samples, but this was really the one that stood out along with another one that I really liked. This fragrance actually came out in 2012, and I don't even remember this fragrance being in the shops. It's such a weird bottle. I'm sure I would have seen this on a shelf somewhere and thought, what is that, and picked it up, because it is such a distinctive bottle. But I don't remember this at all, and I didn't know anything about this fragrance when she first sent it to me. And trying it, I think the thing that really attracts me about it is that it just feels very uplifting. It feels a very happy fragrance. And I guess that's the sort of citrus notes and the white florals in this that give it that real happy feel to me. So this is orange blossom, but it's also a really uplifting jasmine note in this as well. You get like a citrusy tang to this. But as this dries down, it sort of turns into a more ambery, warm fragrance, very sort of enveloping. But really the jasmine and the citrusy feel really stay throughout. This one has actually been compared with Alien. And I guess that's probably because of the jasmine, which to me is very different in this fragrance. But, you know, jasmine to a lot of people is just jasmine, isn't it? And I guess that they could be similar. Maybe this could be mistaken for an alien flanker, a citrusy alien flanker maybe. It's also by Dominique Ropion, this fragrance. So I guess that too may make people think of Alien. Maybe he has some kind of style that means that people will think of Alien. To me, they're very different fragrances, but clearly there are a lot of people who think of Alien with this fragrance. So that maybe explains why I like this one too. I do really like this one. I just wondered whether anybody else remembers this fragrance or has any kind of associations with it, whether anybody else gets this happy vibe from this fragrance. But yeah, I'd be really happy to own this one. So that's Catch Me by Cacharel. So from one Dominique Ropion fragrance to another one, this is actually an Alien flanker, and this one's Alien Eau Sublime. So Alien Eau Sublime came out in 2017, and it was around at the same time as Alien Eau Extraordinaire. And so many people picked that fragrance up. And even I bought a partial bottle of Alien Eau Extraordinaire, which is now long gone. But I did enjoy that fragrance, but it really wasn't what I was imagining that it might be. So if you look at the notes of Alien Eau Extraordinaire, they both have citrus, but they also have tropical florals. And I was expecting something that really had both elements, but really in Eau Extraordinaire, it's more of a citrus tea fragrance based around that alien core DNA. You don't really get the tropical florals, and I think Alien Eau Sublime would probably have been the better choice out of the two for me, because that has tiare flower and it also has solar notes, but it also has heliotrope, and I absolutely love heliotrope in fragrances generally because it gives it powdery sweetness. And I just think that a tropical, summery version of Alien would be right up my street. and maybe Alien Eau Sublime is that. So yes, if I do see a bottle of that, reasonably priced secondhand, I probably will pick it up. But that's so unlikely now because L'Oreal has now discontinued all of the flanker fragrances that were originally there before they took over. And I just think it's probably long gone now. But I would absolutely love to try that fragrance. That's Alien Eau Sublime. So the next fragrance is one from Tom Ford, and this one's been discontinued a few years now. And I remember seeing a huge 250ml decanter of this fragrance being sold in TK Maxx, and I think it was really reasonably priced. It was something ridiculously cheap, like £199, which sounds expensive, but Tom Ford's an expensive brand, and really that fragrance should have been priced nearer £350, perhaps close to £400 for that size of fragrance. So that was a good deal, but clearly I hadn't tried that fragrance and I wasn't going to put that amount of money down on a fragrance probably ever anyway. But Plum Japonais is a fragrance that really, really intrigues me. And ever since I've seen that decanter, I've just really wanted to know how it smelled. So if you look at the notes, it looks like it's some kind of boozy plum fragrance. It's said to have a woody oud and also to have cinnamon, and it's described as being spicy and dark but warm and rich. I just think this sounds like something I might like. The only thing that's putting a spanner of doubt into my mind about this one is really the fact that there's saffron listed in this fragrance. Sometimes I just don't like saffron in fragrances, but I think, you know, with a Tom Ford fragrance, it's probably not going to come off as something that's plasticky. So yeah, if you have tried this one, please do let me know what it smells like and whether you think I would like it or not, because I'm so curious to know how this one smelled, and ever since I saw that decanter, I've just been thinking about it and I would just really love to try it. So that's Plum Japonais by Tom Ford. The next fragrance is very surprisingly a celebrity fragrance, and this one is from Madonna. So I own Truth or Dare, which is a white floral fragrance. It's very heavily based around tuberose, and it's said to be a complete, almost clone of Fracas by Piguet. And I have always wondered what Truth or Dare Naked smells like, because that one didn't seem to do as well as Truth or Dare, but it was the flanker of that fragrance line. So that sometimes happens, doesn't it? But everybody who talks about it on YouTube talks about it like it was a really good fragrance. And I'd just be really curious to smell that one. So most people would describe this fragrance as something that smells like a spicy Coca-Cola. When you look at the notes, it really does have some very interesting notes. For a celebrity fragrance that was released in 2012, to have oud in the notes is really surprising to me. So some people describe this fragrance as slightly boozy smelling. It's clearly a very rich ambrée fragrance, and it also has benzoin in it. So I guess it's got that sort of vanilla-y feel to it, very rich and luxurious. But it's also got vanilla orchid in it. So I guess it's just a very vanilla-based fragrance, but maybe quite a deep, kind of resinous, syrupy kind of vanilla is kind of what I'm imagining. I don't know how similar or different it is to the Pillar. It does sound really different to me. These two fragrances, both of the Truth or Dare line, were so reasonably priced when they were being discontinued and when they were still around. But now they've really shot up in price, and I'm not prepared to spend crazy amounts of money trying this fragrance. But if I saw a partial bottle secondhand, is this worth me picking it up? Is it a good fragrance? So yeah, that's Truth or Dare Naked by Madonna. So the next fragrance is one from Guerlain, and this is a fragrance that I was sent a sample of by Lizzie Rosen-Jones here on YouTube, and this one is French Kiss. So French Kiss is a fragrance I really hadn't heard of until I saw it reviewed by somebody else, and then my curiosity was just piqued. I just really wanted to try this one, and thankfully Lizzie read my mind and sent me a sample. So this fragrance is very fruity and very violety to begin with, but the violet, there's no mistaking it. It's very distinctive at the beginning. And there's also in the mid this sort of dark muskiness that comes along. It really reminds me of the muskiness and the violet that's in Lolita Lempicka. It's a very similar kind of smell, but the fruitiness is really amped up in this fragrance. And there's also something that smells like a rose syrup. There's also heliotrope, and the heliotrope to me smells more like a cherry syrup. So you've got this kind of rose cherry syrup going on in the background of the fruitiness and also the violet. And it's just a very interesting fragrance. It definitely has a bit of a makeup-y feel, but it's not too much. It's more like a lipstick kind of feel, I guess. Something that smells like a very old-fashioned lipstick. And yeah, it's just a very addictive one. It's something that's really interesting. You know, having said that it's a bit like Lolita Lempicka, overall it's not like Lolita Lempicka, it's just elements of this that you could just drop in from Lolita Lempicka. But yeah, just a really gorgeous fragrance, really interesting, and I think Guerlain are absolutely mad to discontinue this one. I don't know whether it's an ingredients thing that's made them discontinue this, but I just can't see that this one wouldn't have been a good seller for them because it's addictive. So that's French Kiss by Guerlain. If you've tried it, please let me know what you think of this one because I think it's gorgeous. So the final fragrance is one from Narciso Rodriguez, and really this is more of a warning that this fragrance is discontinued because I've kind of made my mind up on this one. I've kind of decided that I'm not going to get this one. This is Narciso Rouge. So when I was trying to find a replacement for my Narciso Poudrée, which is very nearly gone, I was debating between Ambrée and Rouge. And Rouge had just been discontinued at the time, and I went for Ambrée because I wanted something that had that tropical feel after not getting the Alien with the tropical feel. And I just thought that I would wear Ambrée more. But Rouge still does have something about it that just makes me super curious. So Rouge is a fragrance that just has sort of something about it that makes me think of spice. Even though there are no spices listed, I still think of something spicy. And I guess that's probably the tonka in this. But really the most distinctive thing is the makeup-y feel of this fragrance. And I say that hesitantly because it's not like a powdery makeup-y feel. It's a creamy makeup-y feel. It's almost like a lipstick kind of feel, this fragrance. I guess it's the iris that's giving it that feel, but it's definitely not a powdery iris, it's a creamy iris. And there's also that very signature Narciso musk. It's a sort of almost slightly dirty musk to me, this fragrance. I just think this one is very distinctive, but I'm not going to get this one. But I just kind of wanted to say to people, in case you aren't aware and in case you love this kind of style of fragrance, if you really like lipstick kind of scents, then you should maybe go and check this one out before it's gone forever. I've got my little sample. I'm quite satisfied with the amount I've got here. I don't tend to wear it that often, but I do just really like it, and I will be sad when this is gone. So that's Narciso Rouge by Narciso Rodriguez. So that's the final fragrance in this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, then please press the like button, and please also consider subscribing if you haven't done already. And please let me know if you've tried any of these fragrances and what you think of them. Which ones of the 9 fragrances in this video that I'm considering picking up would you suggest that I look into a little bit more? Are there any discontinued fragrances that you are longing to find? Even long gone ones, I'd be really interested to know which fragrances live long in your memory, because those are the special ones. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.